drinking.
That's the booze.
Trust. Thank you. Well,
Accountability.
accountability.
Great. Empowerment.
Nope. Roll. You said commitment.
I accept what
We talked about this one yesterday. Just did. Yesterday afternoon, I know. It was 24 hours ago. Conflict. Does anyone know what this top one is? Inattention to results. So I brought this up because what did we just talk about? What did we talk about yesterday? What are we going to talk about? Right, and commitment. And I'll throw in the inattention to results. But these are 5 dysfunctions of a team as described by Patrick Lucioni. Okay? These are things we can actually take an assessment, which Chris is handing out now, and I apologize because I did see a feedback wall that said, please hand out all stuff prior to sessions, but I didn't want you guys to cheat. So this is another tool for a team to gauge how you guys are doing. We can look at these 5 dysfunctions, and we can identify pieces to work on so that we can continue to grow. But trust, if you don't have trust, you're not going anywhere, right? Conflict, these all build on one another. All right? You probably would my handwriting. I should have been a doctor. So I don't know if you can read this right here. Building trust requires vulnerability, right? Being vulnerable. These are okay things. Courage to risk. We've talked about risk taking, right? Fear of conflict. Healthy conflict implies candid debate. Trust to speak opinion without fear of retribution. Holy cow, right? I can speak open and honestly and not fear for how someone's going to react or go running to a supervisor or to another teammate or talk behind my back, right? These are real things. I'm sure we've experienced these at some point. Lack of commitment. Commitment follows healthy conflict. Hear all, disagree, decision, buy-in, one voice. Oh, this is powerful stuff. I can hear it's heavy, right? Avoidance of accountability. To take accountability requires prior commitment. 100% buy-in. So once you're committed, right, and we're going to go into this deeper, but then how do you hold to that commitment, right? Accountability. And then your inattention to results. So focus on delivering measurable results, collective and individual accountability, feedback, right? This is what we love. We love feedback. We should love feedback if we're getting the right feedback. Okay? So 5 dysfunctions of team. Now I wanted to call it out because we've been talking, and we're going to talk about essentially everything here, behaviors. So the next thing now you've got on your tables, and you should have the 5 dysfunctions of the team, the assessment. So take a few minutes and let's fill it out. Be honest. You don't need, this is an individual activity. You're not going to share this with anybody unless you want to. But take the time to fill it out. This is something, honestly, you can do it as a team, individually, and we come back together and we talk about this stuff. Then once you're done, just fill out the back. Oh, you don't have backs?
I didn't even think
Oh.
it was the same.
Oh, Chris, we missed the table. Oh,
You've got affirmations.
yeah, that's for me. You have it.
I really want to say I don't understand the exercise.
I know, thank you for speaking up. Oh my goodness. Thank you for having the courage. Appreciate it. Now you have a back, right? Okay. Then you'll add up.
That all makes sense.
I was thinking of doing that.
All right, guys. Thank you for doing that. We're not gonna discuss scores or anything like that. But I did wanna just bring up the score itself, not your score, but the scoring, how this is scored, right? An 8 or 9, probable indication that this function is not a part of our team. I don't know that I would see any 8 or 9s across the board. Maybe in a specific area, but, you know, not across all 5 dysfunctions. A 6 or 7, any dysfunctions there? 3 to 5, that, this hurts. We need to address this. All right.
I scored 25.
So we're not gonna talk about, because Chris just talked about it to us, Chris did conflict yesterday, we're gonna dive right into commitment. So, as it's defined by the dictionary, commitment is a promise to do or get something. Be loyal to someone or something. The attitude of someone who works very hard to do towards something, right? Commitment. Some others, pledge or undertaking. An engagement or an obligation to restrict freedom of action. What do you think that means? Restrict freedom of action. Think about it in your team setting. You make a commitment. What is restrict freedom of action?
You can't just do anything you want. Focus on what
Exactly. Right? It goes back to what John said. People, I'm sorry. You can't just do whatever you want. You've made a commitment. You can't just pull stuff in, you know, you're set. So John said, okay, you made this commitment, you want us to do this, well, he's out. Let's drop then, because our commitment's now changed, right? Think about when you sign up, I do this, I mean, I know Chris has done this with his son, you've probably done it with your kids. You've made a commitment to a sports team, or band, or something. You don't get to just quit, right? You made a commitment. You can quit at the end. Has any of these happened to you guys? You've been asked to commit to the delivery of specific items. Here, Mandy, we need these 10 items done. Right? Now that's taking us your commitment. Someone else estimating your work for you. We mentioned that a few times in the last couple of days. That's a fun one. Right? What happens? What's the perception when that happens? That these things are now your commitment. Right? This estimation, this 3 months, whatever it might have been, that's your commitment now. Right? That's what people believe. So Kent Beck is one of the signers of the Agile Manifesto. Commitment is something that I offer you. A mandate is something you impose on me. These aren't the same thing. True? Here's a little bit more. When you're committed, when you make a commitment, that ignites action. So if you're not actually doing anything, you haven't made a commitment. You just went, okay. On to the next. Persistence with purpose. Necessary to achieve goals. If you've committed to something, then, all right, so I'm going to start this, and I'm going to start this, and I'm going to start this. And there's that 5-letter word, right? I love this. When you keep or exceed commitments, you build a foundation for success and future growth. Right? Doesn't it feel good when you've made a commitment and you actually succeed? You've made your commitment. I feel like a hero. Right? This is changing habits. Right? Does this fit in commitment? Complaining? So I like to believe that people complain because they're passionate about something, right? That something's not working, and they want to achieve their commitment. They want to keep moving forward. They want to build. They want to grow. Part of it can be a thought pattern, right? Maybe that's how. Sometimes I get caught in that. I'll complain about something. You know, I'm working with Chris and we're running tight, trying to prepare for Agile Camp. And then I hit a bump. I may complain. It was my way of getting my wheels turning again. All right, working through some of this stuff so I can make my commitments. Frustration. Again, passionate. There's exceptions to this. I don't want to talk about those because they're a downer. They're a total downer, right? But if we look at it this way, things not bad, right? Maybe it's a conversation starter. This is where I don't like this stuff, but it could be. And maybe it's a deflector because I'm stuck. I'm going to talk about this other thing. I'm stuck. Maybe I can help us. Not empowered. No solution. The problem with complaining is that it's habit forming. Right? You do something over and over, it becomes habit. You know, that's when you start to repeat. And it goes with mindset, it goes with behaviors, it goes with all this stuff, it limits possibilities. It limits what you can actually do. So how do we turn this stuff into commitment? I like to believe, again, I like to believe that it's just a bump. People actually don't mean anything by this. They're not just being nasty. Who knows what powerful questions are?
Ones without a yes or no answer.
So, start asking powerful questions, right? How is this a problem? Right? We still need to make our commitment. How is this a problem? In what way is this affecting you? It doesn't affect you, drop it. You know, that's my favorite. I can talk about this all the time, but it's not affecting me, so really, why do I care? How does it make you feel? If it were resolved immediately, what does that mean? What does that look like? Right? These are just examples. But you can start to get the wheels turning, right? Get people unspun. We can empower people. Questions to empower. I bolded the you, because that's what it's about. It's about that person. So we can start asking personal questions, not you know, how's your family life, but what it means to them, right? How will the solution make you feel? So if we come up with something, how does that make you feel? Are we done? Moving on? Then how do you feel now about your initial problem? And so these are ways to get people unstuck. Do any of these feel threatening? I don't think so. Okay. We're not attacking the person. Right? But this is a way we can move people who are stuck and back on their commitment. So how to commit? What does that mean? Choose your commitments wisely. So going back to the data one, if you say, hey, we know we can do 50 units, we pull an 80, is that wise? Probably not. Right? So be wise. Communicate your commitments. Doesn't even have to be with your team. Communicate your commitments. You know, Chris and I do it daily. 15 too. But we do it daily, you know, and even when something changes, we communicate, we talk about it. We have open and honest communication. Shit hits the fan, we talk about it, right? I'm sure you do it at home. Again, there's trust. Right? These are some of the builders for commitment and what it means. What you can do as a team, as an individual, and redefine that, right? Rolling stuff over, sprint after sprint, meeting new commitments. Does that feel good? Or is it just like, hey, we've always done that, it's the way life is, whatever, right? So commitment is the next one above conflict. It's a big one. We can't meet commitment. Again, we can have trust and conflict. We can't meet commitment, then we're done. Right? So in front of you are affirmations. Who has affirmations? Who does them daily? Anybody? Yeah. Give or take, right? When I was a much more serious athlete, I did them all the time. In my youth. I walked into my sister's bathroom and I can hardly see myself in the mirror because her mirror is covered with affirmations. Right? As she's trying to build her small business and raise her family and do these things. But we can use these for our teams too. As a team, right? What does commitment mean to us? I will not dwell on this. I will let go of this. I will work on this. I will focus on this. We can use these things, right? So just take a couple minutes. You can read through them. On the front side is commitment affirmations, and on the back are just some general affirmations. any that resonate with you? These can kind of fall in line with, you know, your team values, right? Here, at home, athletics, whatever. Again, you know, like you said, these are just other tools to help stay focused. So, we'll move on. So we're moving up. We're moving up the ladder, right? Commitment, we've got it. You've committed, now how are you accountable? What does that mean? What does that mean to be accountable? The dictionary defines it. Obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. Right? Accepting responsibility, you make yourself accountable for those commitments that you are willing to make. I mean, we've got accountability and we've got, or accountable and commitment and responsibility, all those senses. You can be depended on. You can meet goals you've committed to. Deliver action results. Hold true to your own decisions. And have ownership. Right? That's a big part of this, is ownership. You're accountable and you're responsible. Generally, you're trustworthy. Right? Even if you fail, you're still trustworthy. Because you're accountable. You're not saying, I don't know who did it. I don't know. Right? So again, it goes to the commitment thing. There's good stuff. When we hold ourselves accountable, there's good stuff. When we hold ourselves accountable, right? You can feel empowered and satisfied. Confident and strong. Personal responsibility for actions and results. Right? And then this one here. So instead of me holding Daniel or Chris, or I'm a manager and holding my team accountable, let's flip that. Let's hold one another accountable. Right? Let's have the team take that on and take that responsibility. Right? Because we have trust and we have conflict, we know how to resolve conflict, we can do these things. Right? See how they're building? You like that? So responsibilities come up a little bit. So again, this is just another tool. I like visuals. I don't walk past my office, you can't see through the window because I have stuff all over the window. But I like this stuff. Right? Starting at the bottom, the least responsible. I can walk over to Annie and say, right?
I should be good.
And leave it up to Andy to fix the problem, right? I take zero responsibility in this. As we move up, the next one is, Andy still may solve the problem, but now I'm a little more aware and I'm watching, right? Taking notes. Then the next one is, now I've dug in a little bit, right? And maybe I go to Andy and say, hey, thank you. I'm gonna make the decision. Now the next one I keep digging. And then I come up maybe with some ideas. Here's some options. Here's what I'm thinking. Right? Top one being, here's what happened, here's how I dug in, here's what I came up with, and here's the decision I made because of what I learned. Right? more of a, you inform your leader, you inform your team, whatever it might be, but you take the responsibility for that. What do you think? Where are we on this? Where are you on this?
Depends on the issue, and then I also think for the top one, it's also within reason and within your boundary. Obviously, you don't want to, she's in like an option to cost money with that. There's some obvious things in there, but it's really just a
Yep.
situation.
Yeah, no, and I agree. But at least I've come up with, here's an option A, B, and C.
Yeah.
This one may cost money to pull, but, right? Yeah. So it's interesting, huh? Right? And how that ties into being accountable. Excuse me. So, again, like we help, how do we help with commitment? How do we help with accountability? It's the same stuff. Right? Ask some powerful questions. What's the new way? Right? What's stopping you from going out and doing this? What are the actions you intend to take? So that's really just saying, what's your role in this? Right? And then, would you like me to hold you accountable? Want me to check in with you in a couple hours, a day, see how we're doing? And then any support, right? So these are things we can ask to help with accountability. Again, there's nothing threatening about this at all. This one here, if anyone's come to me, I will not take your problem, right? So don't just take it. So Annie just took my problem, right? I just walked away. So stop solving other people's problems. You can listen and help and probe, ask questions. Just because you have a problem doesn't mean it's my problem. I mean, that's to the extreme again, but, right? How about we distribute responsibility? It's not all, well, I know this, so I'm just going to do it, because I've always done it. Let's distribute that. How do we do that? Cross-team training, pair programming, if it's in a team. Maybe we write up the documentation, we have knowledge shares. I don't know. There's all kinds of ways to do this. By doing that, we increase engagement, we decrease the possibility of being embarrassed by failure, right? Because now the team made a commitment, not just me, the whole team. Stuff sound good? Excited? I can tell. Vibe in the room tells me you're excited. So, well, I mentioned this wasn't part of the title, but I did want to bring up inattention to results. Right? So when a team is broken down and is working in silos, does that happen? Is that happening today? Yeah, absolutely. Right? Their own needs start to supersede the team's needs. So now it's about me. It shouldn't be about me. It should be about the team and our success together as a whole, as a collective, and what that means to us. Right? And then again, who loses? Everybody loses. Everybody loses. Nothing happens. No one's growing. We're now back into, well, I've just got this, and then now I'm done. So here you go. You've got this, right? Or I'm the only one who knows this. Take me to the grave with me. Trust plus conflict and commitment and accountability plus results, right? All 5 of these. That's a happy place to be. That's a happy team, right? But even if something falls, we can still work on it. Doesn't mean we scrap stuff and move on, right? But these things are all here for a reason. Again, his book, Patrick Lencioni, very short. There's lots of stuff out there. I don't want to read articles on it. But yeah, questions on accountability and commitment? It's easy stuff. It's easy stuff. You just need to do it. So commitment requires a clear understanding of what needs to be done and a willingness to do whatever it takes to succeed. Is that so far fetched? Sounds crazy. Accountability provides a sense of importance and is rewarding to see that our actions make a difference. I love to know that my actions make a difference, even if it's small way. You know? Even if it's negative. That's good feedback. Try not to do that again. Commitment plus accountability. Unstoppable success, guys. Right? We can now be predictable. We can keep growing. Right? The stuff Chris was talking about this morning with metrics. This stuff, people trust us. We trust ourselves as a team working together. We can rely on one another. Right? Comments? Questions?
If it's innate in your personality, how can you help it change?
Right, so we're not going to change personality, right? That you were born with your personality. We can modify behaviors. Right? We can ask these questions, probe a little bit, be curious. But, you know, what is it? Is something scared you? Is there a fear? Again, I don't believe that anyone in this company has been taken out back, whipped. Right? So for some reason, but there is an innate fear of commitment. So that's, again, you're not going to change personality, but you can modify behaviors. And if it becomes persistent, that gets raised. That's not a change. But as a team, you know, make the retrospectives. So, yes.
What are techniques for teams that are siloed by role and they're not willing to, I'm a developer, I'm a QA, I'm a BA, but I'm not considering myself as part of a Scrum team. I'm just doing my piece.
So they're on a team, but not, so they're on a Scrum team?
No, they're a Scrum team. I'm just
Oh.
saying, what a Scrum, how is the Scrum team supposed to call that out and call the, hey, I know your title is QA, but I need you to be a VA today. Is that supposed to be the Scrum Master? Is that supposed to be the DTM? Is it supposed to be all of them?
I would like it, I mean, utopian would be the team, right? We may not be there, and so maybe the Scrum Master, maybe some help with the DTM. But understanding and saying, hey, maybe taking a step back and going, we have a huge knowledge gap. And so it's like product owner, we might have to put a hold on some stuff while we share information so that we can do some of this stuff. Or it could be even as simple as, I know that I'm never going to be a QA, but someone may have something, say, just asking the question, how can I help? How can I help so that we make our commitments? And so it's understanding is living up to that commitment. So utopian is the team. We may need to ask questions. Other people may need to ask questions.
Not only ask questions, but our community found that clearly stating when you apply. So using that open and honest communication to tell someone that you might need help. It's always better just to be asked if you want some help. But if that is not happening, make sure you're asking. Because again, it's a team.
Yep, and
And a high-performing and well-professional, you're all, mostly good-natured people that are willing to help and want to meet you.
absolutely. And that's my stance, right? I believe that people truly want to do the best. They want to do their best. They want to do the best for the team. That's why working agreements are so important. You know, we brought them up, I don't know how many times, now. Put some of this stuff in there. What does commitment mean to us? You know, when things are awry, how do I hold myself accountable? How do we hold one another accountable as a team? Right? So that we can continue to make our commitments. It's right in point of what you're saying. Right? But we should be able to ask the question. And ask questions of one another. Is that it? Oh, crap. That's what I see. I see crap.
Stop looking at Jeff.
So that's all I had, unless you guys have more questions.
Commitment, accountability, so remember the 5 levels of conflict dysfunction is key. It's a great tool.
It's good to talk about these functions of it, clear and straightforward, easier to read, but of course, tackling it always a different story. Like, do you have recommendations of sites or exercises, good tools?
So I would start, in my opinion, I would start with the team doing this assessment. And then what we do is we aggregate that data. And then the data doesn't lie, unless you did, right? The data doesn't lie. And then we can start to look at, well, maybe we're okay here. But conflict came out, like